or where you are joining us from. Thank you very much. Just go to the chat box and let's know where you are calling from this evening. All right. United States, great. Good to have you here. Welcome. Thank you. Who else do we have there? United Kingdom, welcome. Thank you. I hope you've got the time right. It looks as if our friends in Nigeria got a little bit confused about the Central European time. So it's good to have you here. Who else is online with us? Would you like to let us know where you are calling from? Lagos, Nigeria, welcome. Thank you. You got the time right. Yeah, welcome, welcome. Great. So without much further ado, we'll continue to ask people as they join us to let us know where they are from. We're just going to start this off right away. Okay. Voila. So this evening, it's about, let's talk about your pain, and what is this all about? We'll explain as we go. Again, I welcome you and I thank you for joining us from the different countries where you are calling from this evening. My name, some housekeeping. I would like you to stay muted throughout the presentation. We're going to record and we will give ample opportunities for discussion and to ask questions at the end of the program, of the presentation. So if you could write your questions down as we go, or so when at that time, I will allow you the opportunity to ask, or you can put it in the chat box. Who am I? My name is Irene Olumese. I'm a faith-informed trauma and transformational coach. I'm a member of the International Coaching Federation, and I hold my credentialings and professional certification in trauma coaching. I'm also a trauma-informed care specialist, and I am an integrated family and couples therapeutic counselor. I am a lung transplant survivor, and I'm a bilateral amputee. And you will find out a little bit more about that as we go on. So what we're going to be talking about tonight, what is the reason for this webinar? What do we hope to accomplish? And what will you benefit from this class tonight? The reason is that we know that pain is unavoidable, at least on this side of the divide. Pain is constant. Life will happen to us. It's not a matter of if, it is a matter of when. For as long as we're on this side of the divide, life is going to happen, that something is going to happen that's going to cause us pain. We will all experience pain and even suffering at one time or the other. The question is, what next? When life happens to us, what do we do next? We may not have control over what happened to us or is still happening to us, but we do have control over how we choose to see the painful experience and how we choose to respond to it. No one can determine when something that will, rock our world will happen to us. However, while we don't have control over the magnitude or the dimension of what will cause us pain, we have control over how we want to perceive it and what we want to do with it and how we want to respond to it. So what we hope to accomplish tonight, The purpose of this webinar is to help you discover why and how you can express your pain in a way that will ultimately be beneficial for you and others around about you. This class is biblically based and faith-informed. I'm a faith-informed trauma coach. You will find scriptural references throughout the teaching, which will provide a solid anchor for the transformation we hope you will experience if you correctly process your pain. The class is also based on the principle of trauma care. And so I'm going to be bringing some of this principle in as we have this conversation tonight. My desire is to help you choose how you respond to your pain and help you to begin the process of transforming your pain to something purposeful and life-impacting. I have been there. I've been through significant painful experiences, and I've also experienced the transformation that such experiences can bring and how we can transform pain into something that is purposeful. That's why I'm here tonight doing this. So what will you benefit from here? What will you take away from your R+ that you're going to be sharing with us here? First, the changes caused by life painful and traumatic experiences are inevitable, but the transformation we can experience through it is a choice. So my desire is that you will leave here today with that understanding that you can choose to experience a transformation from whatever has happened to you. In this class, I will share with you lessons I have learned from my 20 years of fear experiences with pain, and especially living with chronic diseases. I will also share with you how to express your pain in a healthy way and to purposefully move forward beyond your painful experiences by helping you change your perspective to pain. I will show you that it's possible to transform your pain into a life-impacting purpose. And so the goal is to help you shift your mindset and your perspective about the painful circumstances that you have experienced, or perhaps you're still experiencing. There's a reason you decided to join this class this evening, something you want to take away from this class. And as I'm sharing here, I would also like you to put in the comment box, why are you here? Why did you come to this class tonight? What do you want to take away from this class tonight? Please put it in the comment box as we go on. Points you in the direction where you can experience a reorientation and transformation towards positive possibilities. We'll also try to show that it's possible to overcome your painful experiences and experience a transformation to wholesomeness so that you can move forward and live an impactful life. And finally, we'll share with you resources available for you to accomplish the above. So please, as you're here, share in the comment box where you are calling from, which city you are representing for those who are just joining us, and what you hope to take away from this class tonight. Please share in the comment box. All right, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. What is trauma? Trauma is anything that happens to you that overwhelms your capacity to bear up under it. Something that hits you, twists you around. I mean, sometimes I look at the tornadoes that come into, hurricanes that come. Recently there was a Hurricane Ian in the United States that hit Florida. When it comes in, it hits and it just overwhelms. It overwhelms our capacity to bear it. Most of the houses were, cleared off the path of this hurricane because the force of that hurricane overwhelmed their capacity. And so in human terms also, such can be possible. I'm looking out to read your comments at the end of it, why you're here and what you hope to gain from this class and where you're calling from. A traumatic event involves a single experience or an enduring, repeated, or multiple experiences. It could be a one-time thing. For example, like the hurricane that I just described just now, it could be a one-time thing that hits an individual, right? And it could be an enduring, repeated. For example, a child who in a home where that is being emotionally or physically abused for a long time. And it could be multiple experiences, different things happening at the same, over a period of time that, eventually completely overwhelms that individual's capacity to cope or integrate the ideas and emotions that is involved in that experience. Trauma can result from childhood abuse or neglect, undergoing repeated medical interventions. That is exactly the kind of trauma that I suffered from, repeated medical interventions. It could happen from accidents, natural disaster, witnessing acts of violence, whether outside the home or within the home, or war, grief and loss, intergenerational and historical events. This class tonight will give you a teaser over these different courses, because we cannot teach the entirety of the course in one class. So we're going to just give you I'm going to skim through it and just give you some of the ideas. And for those who would join us for the Profit of Pain course, we will go into more details about this. Just a minute, there are people who are trying to get in. Okay. So trauma inflicts emotional wounds and it affects our self-esteem. Let's go a little bit more about trauma. Traumatic events can cause physical and emotional pain. What happens to us, for example, if it is it's an accident or an act of violence, it causes both physical and emotional pain. The impact of trauma can be subtle, it can be insidious, or outright destructive, again, depending on the kind of traumatic experience that it is. And traumatic wounds caused by trauma, emotional wounds caused by trauma, leave evidence. Those who have had traumatic experiences and suffered from emotional wounds as a result of these traumatic experiences, there is an evidence, there is a telltale sign that to show that something has happened to them. Depression, loss of appetite, uncontrolled and inappropriate anger, deep-seated resentment, lashing out at others, uncontrolled discouragement and sorrow, feeling helpless, feeling of helplessness, hopelessness, and worthlessness. Excessive irritability, oversensitivity to the past, and little tolerance for from others. And in some cases, it could be as bad as self-hate. So this is some of the ways in which trauma manifests. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about pain. Our pain can be emotional, it can be physical, and it can be mental or psychological. There are many different reasons for pain. Pain can be self-inflicted. Pain can be caused by unexpected tragedies like an accident. Pain can be caused by the behavior of other people, something that others are doing that is inflicting pain on us. Pain can come from mental and emotional trauma. And of course, some painful experiences can be divine tests. Let's go further. Pain is a signal that something is wrong. Physically, when we feel if you, for example, you're in the kitchen, you're cooking, and you accidentally touch a hot surface, what happens immediately is that you're going to retreat your hand because it's telling you something is wrong. You've touched something you shouldn't touch. It's something splash, a hot oil splashes on you. You're going to instantly jerk back because you feel something that tells you something that shouldn't happen has happened to you, and you need to respond to it. Emotional pain is also a pain or hurt that originates from non-physical sources. In this instance, it is within. And if you could say it's a wound in the soul. It can result in regrets, from regrets, grief, or loss. It can be intense and can affect other spheres of our lives. People who bear wounds in their soul, who bear wounds in their emotions, their interaction with others indicates that something is wrong. The way they interact with others, the way they, in their relationships shows an evidence of something that is wrong. And it can be intense. It can really be intense. I mean, sometimes the soul wounds can be so intense that it actually feels physical. Wounds, emotional pain can be so intense that you are literally groaning in agony because of this. And I'm going to share a little bit more about this as we go on. Please mute your phones as you come in. Thank you very much. Emotional pain can impact both physical and mental health. Those people living with intense emotional pain have different symptoms, physical symptoms, manifesting in different diseases that's actually as a result of the intensity of the emotional pain. And of course, mental health can be affected as a result of this. Physical pain also can impact mental and emotional well-being of the sufferer. I lived for several years with chronic diseases, and it had impact for me, for my emotional well-being and my mental well-being. So it can happen vice versa. So we know that grief, oh no, not there yet. Let's go back. Right. Pain and grief can come from diverse experiences that throw people into the darkness of despair. And this is really where we want to look at. When people are thrown into that darkness of despair, where they feel helpless and hopeless and worthless, how do you manage in that? How do you deal with that kind of feeling and emotion in a way that will be healthy for the individual in the long run? Shattered relationships, broken relationships, it could be marital relationship, it could be a parents-children relationship that could result in that. It could be different kinds of relationship can break down. For as long as two people who are together or a group of people who are together now have significant issues that break them up down, and depending on the how close that relationship may be, it can lead to pain and it could lead to grief. Many people who go through divorce will tell you that how discomforting, how disillusioned they become, how painful the experience is when relationship break down, when there is a betrayal, how people can really suffer because of this emotionally. The loss of a loved one can also result in pain and grief. Loss of a long sought after dream. You've had a dream of something that you desire and you have been waiting for it, and you hear the news that this is never going to happen to you. It can cause such an intense pain and grief that can throw us into despair. Even when you have dreamt of a relationship that you expect to thrive and lasts for a long time. You've dreamt of it, you desired it, you have envisioned it, and it breaks down. It causes grief and pain that can throw us into despair. Traumatic abuses, emotional abuses, abandonment that leaves someone broken, all of this can result in grief and pain. I'll just pause a minute. For those of you who are just joining us, we will request that you put in the comment box where you are calling from, what city or country you're joining us from, and also what you would like to take away from this class today. Please keep all questions to the end of the presentation. It will be attended to then. We will have a time for Q&A. Okay. All right. Painful experiences can leave you feeling empty. When something that's really shattered you happens, there is that hollowness at the pits of our tummy, and a sense of emptiness, that a hollowness that you can't find adequate words to express it. It can leave you feeling without purpose. What exactly is the purpose of life? And last month was Suicide Prevention Month, Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. And we were having a lot of conversation about how grief and depression can push people to the point where they see no purpose in life. And how can we help them to turn away from that precipice of despair? It can leave you feeling alone and isolated. When I was going through my own challenges, I had to be homebound. And it's sometimes being alone for a protracted period of time just feels, makes you feel isolated. I've had to be in isolation room several times in the course of my ordeal with my health. And so things like that, traumatic experiences that happens to us like that, can leave us feeling alone and isolated. It can leave us feeling vulnerable as well. And sometimes you actually feel raw pain. It's as if a raw wounds are embedded deep within your soul. It's there. You can't search it. But you know that something, there is something raw and painfully raw, there. I recall an incident in my life when I faced challenges that was not even health related. It was a relationship that broke down in the places where I did not expect, and where there was a calumny that attached to it, words that were very painful, and it felt as if someone actually served me with a hot iron in the pit of my belly. It felt raw. And so when things, that overwhelms us happen, things that we do not expect, we did not ask for, something that we did not anticipate happens to us, it can create such raw wounds deep within our soul, leaving us feeling helpless, hopeless, and without worth. Let's go on. Okay, just all right. And you recall, I was mentioning earlier that the pain, the intensity could be so protracted that we actually feel an anguish, in our soul, extended pain and grief, intense sorrow, suffering can lead to anguish in the soul. Life circumstances can actually make us groan in agony. David in the book of Psalms expressed such intense agony. He says that my soul is in anguish. And David was somebody who experienced, rejection. He experienced someone pursuing him to kill him. And in the midst of all of that, he expressed an anguish in his soul. He was talking about something that was deep, deep, deep there. And several times in the scriptures, he mentioned it. Jesus also experienced deep sorrow in his soul. In the Garden of Gethsemane, he says that his soul was in anguish, almost to death. So this intensity of pain in our soul is possible. And we've seen several experiences of how this can happen. It is a struggle, and it can go on for an extended time. I mean, for Jesus, he knew what was coming ahead of him, and it was causing him that sorrow. He was going to bear for something that, it was going to bear a load on behalf of those that have sinned, and yet he's going to bear the punishment. That caused him anguish in the soul. David, this was coming from rejection. It caused him anguish in the soul. For all of us, there are different things that can happen to us that can cause such an anguish in our soul. The bottom line is that emotional wounds can trigger anxious thoughts and agitation, which can speak so loudly in our minds that we can hear nothing else. When emotional wounds trigger these thoughts, they play like a DJ in our head, over and over and over again. And it is only the voice of the pain that we are hearing. What do we do? How do we handle it? So who can experience pain, trauma, or suffering? Anyone. There is absolutely no one that is immune. Like I mentioned at the beginning, it is when something that is beyond our capacity to bear it happens to us. Anyone can suffer, can be traumatized. Anybody can suffer from grief, and that can cause an intense pain. No one is immune. And statistics actually shows us that at least 75% of the population has experienced at least one traumatic event in their lives. 75% of the population has experienced at least one traumatic event in their lives. So what are our natural reactions to pain? Obviously, nobody wants pain. We ask, why me? We want to avoid it. We want to get rid of it. We want to run away from it. We want to numb it. But what if we actually face it and find what can this pain deliver to us? And when I'm saying that we face it, I'm not saying that we run after it and look for it. We don't go look for it. We're not fatalistic. But when it happens, rather than avoid it, what if we face it and find out what it can deliver to us? Why pain? Why pain? We live in a fallen and unbelieving world. In this world, we will have many sorrows and trials and tribulations. But the good news is that that is not the end of the story. We can be courageous because we know already that Christ has already overcome and conquered for us. Pain is a reminder that we must long for Christ and for a place where there is no more pain. Here in this side of the divide, we will experience times of testing, which is normal for every human being. But God being faithful, he will screen and filter the severity, the nature, and the timing of each and every test and trial so that we can bear in it. But ultimately, each test is an opportunity for us to trust God the more. And for along with every trial, we know that God has provided a way of escape to bring us out of it. The good news also is that God cares about your pain. God cares about the anguish in your soul, and is looking upon your soul when you are troubled. It is comforting for us to know that that is available for us. As someone who cares about our pain, who is looking after it, who wants to soothe us, who wants to heal us. He wants to give us the strength for each moment and wisdom. And so when life happens to us, we need to know what does not change change remains constant, and where we can rest our hope and anchor our faith. In the life's hardest times and deepest pain, we need to reorient our thinking to understand that God is unflinchingly committed to work it together for our good, for those who love in him. We need an anchor for hope in the time of pain, in the time of adversity, in the time of anguish, in the time of affliction. There is an anchor for hope for us. There is exit signs. They exist in our place of pain, in that place where pain happened to us, where life happened to us. There are exit signs. It's like being in a hole in a room. The exit signs are there. The question is, can we see it? The mystery has an end if we know how to access the help that we need. And the Prophet of Paincast offers us a powerful tool that can help you to see the possibility of embracing a wholesome and vibrant life beyond our painful experiences. So what are the steps that we want to take? One, we acknowledge the pain. That your pain is valid. I can tell you tonight that whatever you are feeling is valid. It matters also because you experienced it. And no one must diminish what you have experienced. It may be complicated or difficult for you to make sense of it or for others to understand it, but that does not diminish the fact that it happened to you. Something happened to you that shifted your world on its axis. And that pain warrants attention. And the reasons why we must acknowledge it, because suppressing the pain within us may appear to be the easiest option, but it tends to hurt us more. When our pain comes from deep and scary places, we don't want to talk about it or even admit its existence. But ignoring it is not going to get rid of it. When we avoid our trauma and painful experiences, it can affect every aspect of our lives. And in the moment, what you may feel safer avoiding it, but avoiding it is just transmitting the trouble to the next moment. Acknowledging the pain is an essential part of any healing process. We cannot heal from a pain that we have not acknowledged. If we do not admit that something happened to us, how do we begin the journey of healing, the process of healing? And that's why it is important for us to recognize the pain and to acknowledge it. Acknowledging the pain, when we try to avoid our traumatic experiences, it can lead us to isolation. It takes us further and further away from people. We begin to avoid certain people or certain places because we fear that they may induce a pain or make it worse. So not acknowledging our pain and avoiding it is actually doing us more harm because it tends to isolate us. When we acknowledge our pain, then we can begin to work through it. We begin to learn how to understand our feelings and our emotions and how to respond to them appropriately. Remember, I said your pain is valid. What happened to you is important. It warrants attention. The next thing is, and I've also mentioned earlier, that we do not have control over what happens to us, but we do have the choice and control over how we respond to it and what we do with it.
Oh, I'm surprised now.
Please mute your, thank you. Deciding to walk through your pain can be a very big and frightening decision because you'll be facing some difficult moments from the past. When I work with my client, I have to prepare them ready to be able to face their pain, to be able to look at it in the face and examine what it is there, because it can be very frightening to go to those places, but we need to go there for us to heal from it. So working with an experienced professional will help you to learn how to face your trauma in a healthy way, how to deal with your pain in a healthy way. Expressing the pain. Why should you express your pain? The pain that you do not express is bottled up in there. And when we bottle it up and we press it down, more often than not, it is not going away because we have not acknowledged it. It stays down there, and it is like a volcano that is brewing beneath the surface. And at the appropriate trigger, it's going to explode. And when it does explode, everybody knows that volcanoes, when they explode, causes a lot of damage. And that's why we cannot afford to bottle up or suppress what has happened. So how do we express our pain? We need to be able to do it in a way that doesn't hurt us and others around about us. Also, we need to do it in a way that it does not allow that pain to become like a wild horse that is taking you to places that you have no control over, places of destruction. Expressing your pain is important so that you do not harm yourself and those around you. Avoidance and inability to express our pain will keep us stuck, confused, and unable to move forward. In my line of work, I have seen how people get stuck in the place where life happened to us. Yes, life will happen to us. It will push us down. That is what pain does. That is what the wickedness and the violence in this world does. The question is, are we going to allow it to push us over the precipice of despair or keep us down, never to get back up again? We need to get back up again and rise up from the place where life happened to us. So in expressing your pain, sharing with will keep you from being isolated, will keep you from isolation, loneliness, and also reminds you of God's presence with you. Now, the key word is safe place. We need to find safe places where confidentiality will be maintained to share our pain, to express what has happened to us, being sure that the information we share will be treated with confidentiality. Sharing with trustworthy individuals who have the capacity and the ability to support you. You need to prayerfully consider who has the capacity to do it, who is qualified. Is it a professional counselor, a mentor, a minister? Who has the capacity and the ability to support you, to listen to you, and just hear you out, allow you to be able to express what you're going through and help you to deal with it in a non-judgmental manner. I found journaling very useful. I mean, in the 20 long years that I dealt with chronic diseases, journaling was a lifesaver for me. I was just being able to pour out what I was going through in the different seasons of my life and writing them down. And ultimately, they became very useful material for the writing of my book, Grace in the Storms. So journaling is important, but this has to be also an adjunct with other support system. We can seek professional help. There are people who are trained trauma-informed specialists, trauma care specialists, trauma coaches, who can help you to, in expressing your pain and what to do with it. But amidst all of this, finding reasons for gratitude amid your pain is so essential. In the midst of the gloominess of life, for as long as we have breath within our nostrils and our lungs are still expanding, Grief and gratefulness can share the same heartbeat. We can always find something to be thankful for, that we are still alive. And for as long as we are still alive, there is hope for a turnaround for good in that situation. Process the pain. Yeah, the pain that we do not process, we cannot heal from it. And healing from a traumatic experience is not just for our own benefit. It will also help others around about us. We will comfort others with the same comfort which we have been comforted. And truly, our loved ones, people who live in close contact with us, deserve the best version of us, not the bitter version, not the angry version, not the one that is so resentful that resentment is literally oozing out of us. Those who live in close community with us deserve the best version of us that is healed and is wholesome. The consequences of not processing past or present pain is that it will sneak into our future. What we don't deal with today will follow us into the future and begin to dictate how we behave in future relationships. And many painful experiences are wasted because we did not still sit long enough to process them and learn from them. There's so many lessons we can learn from our painful experiences, even when we had no control over what happened to us and why it happened to us. We may never be able to answer that question of why it happened, but we can learn lessons from it. The truth of the matter is that pain in its raw form will not benefit you or anyone around about you. Pain in its raw form is raw material, but when it's processed, it can produce something impactful. Adversity and afflictions will also process you to become a gracious and a more compassionate person. You've been there, you know what it feels like. And when you have processed it, you are better able to help others who come into your sphere of influence. So processing the pain, it's a process. Pain in itself, it's a refining and purifying process. I mean, I see pain like going through painful experiences as the way gold goes through the furnace, so that all the impurities in gold is consumed through that experience, and we can reframe our painful experiences and use them as a refining process. The hard times and adversities will test the essence of who we are and what we stand for. Ultimately, they will reveal the fine qualities of our character. It is in time of pressure that what we are made of is put on display. It is in time of pressure that what is inside of us will ooze out, and it can be revealing what comes out of us in times of pressure and pain. Ultimately, we want to be able to reframe our pain, the pain of our past experiences, so that it becomes an opportunity for others to see God's work, God's hand at work in our lives, and to use it as a growth process. For those of you who are just joining us, again, let me announce that we would like you to put in the comment box where you are joining from, just right there, your country or the city where you're coming from, and also what you hope to take away from this class. All questions we will address during the Q&A. Okay, healing from the pain. Too often, the intensity of pain and grief can push us to try to bypass the healing process. We want it fast. When we live in an age where we want it to happen like this. I remembered after 10 years of living with chronic afflictions and chronic pain, I wanted it over. I wanted it over. I had had enough of it. I didn't even know at that point that I was just halfway in the process. But the healing process, we cannot there's no bypass to it. There's no shortcut to it. We need to go through that process so that we can be fully healed. The reason why people continue to repeat the same suffering and pain in future relationship is because they never let their wounds heal properly. If we have a physical wound, if you cut yourself, you're going to wait, you're going to do everything possible to ensure that your wound heals. But when we have wounds in our soul, we want it to happen fast. We need to give the same attention for the wounds in our soul to heal properly. But the good news is that healing from soul emotional pain is possible. Emotional healing is a process. It is a very personal journey. There is no one cup fits all for emotional healing. But the truth is that it will give you the opportunity, to allow God to deal with you and your painful experience in His own way and time. God did not create us to carry emotional wounds and baggage. It's a weight that we're not meant to carry. We're not designed to carry for extended period of time emotional wounds. We need to lay it down and heal from it. And we can also transform our pain. You can transform and repurpose your pain. Your pain can produce something meaningful, significant, and of eternal value. Your pain can be transformed into power, into profit, and into purpose. That alone in itself, it's a whole course, in our Profit of Pain course, and where we dig deep into how we can transform our pain. It is only when we reconcile, reframe, and release the past that we can move forward in God's bigger plan for our lives. Our past does not have to dictate our future if we let it serve the purpose of refining our character. What happened to us in the past is meant to be processed. What happened to us in the past is meant for us to learn lessons from and reframe it, and then we release it. We repurpose it for something that is of more value in the future. What happens when we process and heal from pain? What happens? Traumatic events can cause an overwhelming sense of guilt. It can bring condemnation that chains us to the past. And those who have experienced trauma tend to blame themselves, even when what they are suffering from is caused by others. Because when we don't take time to process it, we think, okay, maybe I contributed something to it. And that is a lie that pain can scream into our ears. And that's why I said trauma can be like a DJ that fills us with, lies, agitated thoughts, and anxious thoughts. The fact that somebody has done this to us, that person is responsible. When our pain is caused by another person, we do not have responsibility for it, and therefore need not blame ourselves, but hold the person who has caused the pain culpable and responsible. If we don't heal from our pain, if we don't process the events of our life, we become defined by these events. An emotional wound can become such a stronghold and a negative entrapment that can have such a tenacious grip over our lives, and it will always steer us to depression, to despair, and discouragement. The pain that we do not deal with or heal from will interfere with our ability to function and to perform our daily activities. So, whatever maladaptive patterns that comes from our past painful experiences can prevent us from living the fullness of life that Jesus died to purchase for you and I. The question is, are you willing to open up that area of your life and identify the emotional baggage from the past that may still be hindering you from moving forward with your life. It is possible for us to overcome trauma and painful experiences, even though trauma is not something we often talk about and readily admit. We can process and interpret it in a way that will influence the outcome. We cannot afford to be quiet. We need to seek help. We need to seek support. And we must prayerfully select a support person who can help us in our healing journey. And it should be someone we can be comfortable with to share intimate details of our lives. Emotional pain is not something we should hide away from or never speak about. It's not something that we should, no, we don't talk about such things here. We have to talk about it so that we can heal from it. There is truth in the pain and there is also growth there, but it has to first of all be opened up. Your pain has a voice, your pain has a message, and your pain has a purpose. There is a power in your pain that you can harness, and you simply cannot afford to waste your pain. And I just want to share some of these quotes to inspire us as we come close to the end of this presentation. If you focus on the pain, you will miss the purpose of that pain. And the shame of pain dies when it is exposed in safe places. Pain does not have to have the last word concerning you. Pain must not be given that power to have the final word, but we can harness the power of pain so that God can have the last word. Okay. I mentioned earlier that I have also been through a journey of pain, and that's why I got here today. Our time is fast spent. I'm just going to mention briefly what my own experience with pain is so that you can understand that I understand, I relate. I lost my daughter at 32 weeks at a stillbirth. I lived 20 years with a chronic respiratory and debilitating neuromuscular disease, coughing every day, nonstop for 20 years. I had significant challenges in the pursuit of my career. I mean, a PhD that was supposed to take me 4 years ended up taking me 10 years because of challenges and oppositions that I faced, not because I didn't have my work done, but when two elephants are fighting, the grass suffers for it. I faced similar challenges in my workplace where I was found appointable for a position that I had held in an acting position for over a year, and somebody else was put in the same position. I interviewed and I was told to train my new boss. Some of these things can really hit us in a way that inflicts sorrow, wounds in our soul, and I've learned to heal from it. And the loss of my job, as a result of my health, also resulted in stable income that resulted in significant financial challenges to the point that my bank actually declared my account delinquent at one point in time in my life. So from different directions, I have been hit. And 7 years, I was on supplemental oxygen, homebound. With that, all I was doing at home was taking care of myself. 3 years, I was on non-invasive ventilation, unable to breathe by myself. I needed a ventilator to breathe. Eventually, I had a lung transplant in April 2013, and the complications of the lung transplant resulted in the amputation of both legs 6 weeks later after being in coma for 5 weeks. I'm not going to bore you with the details of that. If you join us in the class, I will talk more about it as part of the teaching. This was me after the lung transplant and just before both legs were amputated. That was me in the ICU. So I know how physical pain can also result in emotional pain. Eventually, the 2 legs were amputated. And I learned a lot of lessons through my pain. Now, before I go to share the lessons that I learned from my pain, I've been speaking for the last 45, 50 minutes since we started. I'm going to pause the share for the moment, and then I'm going to invite a couple of people to speak about the, okay, let me, yeah, so that you can see my face and I can see the faces of those who are in the room. Okay, good. I'm going to ask a couple of my friends here to speak about the Profit of Pain course, people who have participated in the course, and they can share what they learned from that course that helped them to transform their own pain. Dr. Dupe Kuku, are you in the room? If you're there, please unmute yourself and you can speak. You have a couple of minutes, yes?
Yes, hello,
I'm
good
going
evening. Hello, good evening. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can
Okay.
hear you. Please,
Okay.
can you hear her?
Can you hear
If you
me?
can hear her, please just confirm.
Yes, yes,
Good.
we can
Yes.
hear.
Yeah,
So
thank you
please,
so much.
Yes, we can hear her.
Hearing this course again is even is actually better. It's better second time around. So it's really nice to hear this. I did this course basically because God had challenged me, basically said, get rid of every weight and every sin that so easily besets. So that was the reason why I did the course. And I didn't know how to process the pain. I really didn't know how to process it because underneath the pain, there was a lot of anger, all kinds of negative emotions. But what the course did was able to channel the pain into something positive. And even, like I said, hearing it second time is really, really good. It's so refreshing. I would advise that it's worth going through the course because in the Christian community, it's something that's hardly ever addressed. And I think even at the pastoral level, they don't really know how to handle it. They might give you some words, but in terms of being focused and intentional, it's not, very common. So I would highly recommend this course. So that's all I'm going to say.
Thank you very much for sharing that. Is Pelumi Shonde around? She's also took part in the course. Can you unmute yourself and share with us?
Yes, sir. Good evening, ma.
Good evening.
Good evening, ma. Good evening, everyone.
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Profit of pain. It's something beyond my imagination.
Okay.
I didn't really want to. I was like, I don't really need it. I don't really need it. But when I had the one-on-one section, it was mind blowing. To me, what I expected was not what I got. Like I was expecting a criticism, judgment, and what I got was way, way beyond my imagination. So what I would say is anybody that wants to find purpose in his or her pain, anybody that wants to find voice, that wants to find message, this course is for you. Thank you so much, man. I'm really grateful.
Thank you for sharing that. We're going to share the link for the Profit of Pain course in the comment box as soon as I can get it there. Let me ask Adeshewa, you are in the group as well, to share your own experience of the Profit of Pain course before we wrap up this evening session. I will share the lessons I learned from my own painful experience, and then we will wrap it. We will start the question and answers. Yeah. Adeshewa, are you there?
Good evening, ma. Sorry.
Good evening.
I was breaking. Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me, ma?
Yes, I can hear you. We can hear you. We can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, ma, for the Profit of Pain course. I think that, especially with this webinar today, I think the conversation of pain is one that we must consistently have, because it's easier to have conversations around it. So thank you so much. So for everyone who is wondering if they should take the course I lost my brother in 2020.
Please mute yourself. Not you, Adeshewa, others. Please go. What happened?
Okay.
Okay.
I can see you now.
Okay. I don't know what happened. I'm still trying to get myself back online.
So you know how you go through something and then you just say to yourself,
Yeah, please go ahead.
you say to yourself, oh, I'm fine, or oh, I'll be fine. Because you feel that maybe you've talked about it with someone, or you've just slept and woken up and you feel better. One day is still going to show up. So I'm grateful that I could talk about it. I mean, since 2020, I did not speak about it until we had the Prophet of Pain course. And speaking about it was one of the most liberating things that happened to me with me in this year. So if you'd like to get the Prophet of Pain course tonight, if you get it tonight, you get 50% discount. You get a 50% discount. And, this is one of the courses that you must actually, pay attention to, because you have somebody who 100% understands what pain is about. There's the coaching session. So even as you go through the 10 week of courses, there's the day where you're going to come and have a conversation, about the things that you have gone through. And Dr. Irene's coaching style is amazing. You want to actually sit down and have a conversation with her concerning whatever it is that you think may be the issue. So if you get the course tonight, you get a 50% discount. Once the course begins and you try to maybe get the course, you're going to be paying the 100% discount. So, and there are two streams. You can do a self-paced course. You can do the self-paced course for 10 weeks and be a part of the group coaching.
Is that from your side?
Not at all.
Please
Not at all.
mute yourself. I'm trying to mute people. Please mute yourself if you're not talking. Thank you. All right.
Yeah, so if so you can either take the course, you can do a self-paced method, which means that for 10 weeks you have access to the course, you watch the course, you be a part of the group class, and that's just 50,000 naira. That's in naira. If you would go for the second option, which is you have the 10 weeks, and then you also have exclusive sessions, 2 exclusive sessions with Dr. Irene. Nobody's in the room with you. You get to choose a day where you sit down with her and have a conversation about the pain. And sometimes you even think you're fine. So sometimes it's like there's no pain until you guys start having that conversation. As long as you've gone through something in your life, like she was saying during the presentation, pain is part of life. It is inevitable. Storms are inevitable. How we respond to it, is what truly matters. So if you get the other the second option, which is you be in the 10 weeks class, be a part of the group coaching, but also have a one-on-one session with Dr. Irene there, you want to go for the exclusive stream. Dr. Irene has posted the link. Please, this is one of the things. You don't want to go into 2023 carrying the same baggage. You don't want to go into the next year, still feeling down, not able to do what you're meant to do, not able to live your life, to the fullest, not able to, help those around you, you know, live their lives as well, because you are cranky, because you're remembering, you know, that you lost something or you lost someone, or you don't want to be in that same cycle. You don't want to be in that same cycle when you could actually live a really powerful life. So yes, that's what the Prophet of Pain course is about. It's a time for you to just, you know, get into that place and relieve yourself. I'm sure somebody's wondering, you know, so does the pain just go away? Trust me, your healing journey starts. You will begin your healing journey. You will definitely begin your healing journey. And it's worth the while. It's worth the time. It's worth the investment. It's worth the conversation. With, you know, I'm trying so hard not to tell you anything about the cost, but you'll be shocked that half of the things that happen to people medically stem from emotional pain. So you don't want to be in that place where you can actually have a conversation, be free from this thing. Yes, it would, you know, it would always come, but the sting will be off. And once the sting is off, you're liberated. You're liberated. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. I hope to see you inside the course. Remember, if you take the course, if you get the course tonight, you get a 50% discount. If you decide to get a course later, you get the full, you get a course, but you have to pay the full amount. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Adeshira, and thank you, Dupe and Pelumi. These are participants from the cohort 1 of the Prophet of Pain course. And so I'm in 5 minutes, I'm going to finish the presentation, and then I'm going to open the floor for questions and answers. And for those who have specific questions they want to ask about all of this that has happened to us. What did I discover from my pain? A lot. I learned lessons. I had the opportunity to sit with my painful experiences and to distill them. And my painful experiences, you know, branded me with an acute sense of empathy for fellow people around about me who were suffering, you know, whether from similar situations or something that is close to it. I mean, I received comfort with which I have been comforting others. A mere intellectual understanding of the Bible could not accomplish the kind of sense of acute empathy that I have received, the comfort that I have received. The pressure of pain squeezed out of me latent and innate gifts. I discovered my gift for creative writing in the cave of confinement and through the valley of the shadow of death. It also motivated me to go deeper in key relationships and have less motivation for superficial ones. Honestly, I don't have grace for superficial relationships after all that I have endured. I also found that my painful experience, you know, motivated me to prioritize my time and energy so that I can become more focused on fulfilling my divine purpose in life. Pain caused me to seek the Lord like never before and become more Christ-like. But the truth is, our pain will be in vain if it does not become a gain for others. If our pain cannot be transformed into something that will benefit others, then it would have been a waste. And it's a double tragedy to go through a painful experience and waste it. It's just double and not mine something out of it. The pain is a minefield, and there's so much treasures that we can bring out of a painful experience. Life has happened to us. Nothing is ever going to change that. But how can I reframe what happened to me and transform it to something that is meaningful? You know, painful experiences produces learning opportunities. I learned a lot about myself in the midst of my painful experience. And I have seen many people that I worked with and many others who have gone through challenging seasons, learning from it and using that learning, you know, to better themselves and better their environment. Pain would definitely teach you to remain in faith, because if you don't, you're going to be so consumed by it that you will turn your back to faith. And you remember, as when I started earlier, I said we need anchor for our faith. We need something to help us to keep faith and to keep hope alive when we are going through challenging seasons. Enduring and withstanding pain or suffering will definitely produce perseverance. So what did I discover? What did I produce with my pain? I learned to transform my pain into power, to purpose, and to profit. And when you hear profit, what is the first thing that you're thinking about? You're thinking about financial gain. Yes, that is a part of profit, but that is not the totality of what profit is all about. Profit is value. Profit is benefit. Profit is something that makes a difference. It makes an impact. And so when I'm talking about profit of pain, I am talking about the value, the benefits that you can derive, that you can mine out of a painful experience. I mean, Joseph said that what you meant me for, what you intended for evil, God has turned it around for good. Something that was intended for evil, something that was intended to harm you, to keep you down, you are able to change your perspective towards it. You reframe it, you repurpose it, and make it into something new, something different, something that can touch lives for good. And so that's exactly what I learned to do with mine. So what did I do? There's Inspiring Hope, which is about beyond the pain counseling services. It's also resulted in this Profit of Pain. Inspiring Hope live video takes place on Facebook every Thursday evening, where I share to help people overcome their painful experiences. I share to help people know how to deal with issues, life issues around about us based on what I have experienced, helping others to keep hope alive when they're going through their own journeys. I have 2 books that have been written as a product of my pain. Grace in the Storms, The Living Proof is my life story, 364 pages, just a bit of what I went through. And of course, 55 chapters of grace and hope. The Profit of Pain course that we shared with you tonight is one of the products of my pain. It's what I learned in my own place of pain and how God helped me by his grace to transform it so that I can now help others to transform their own pain, to walk through their own pain, acknowledge it, express it, process it, then transform it while you are healing from it. It is a healing journey. It is a journey of healing and transformation. And that's what is encompassed in the Profit of Pain course. What else? There is the aspect of enriching lives. Today, we have the Feet of Grace Foundation. What does the Feet of Grace Foundation do? When I lost both legs, and in the process of learning how to walk again, the one thought that was coming to my mind over and over again was, how are amputees in Nigeria surviving? Who is helping amputees in Nigeria? I knew how much it cost. I knew the intensity of the rehabilitation process, especially when you lose 2 legs and you have to learn how to walk again. Walking with artificial legs is a different ball game compared to walking with your 2 natural legs. And so today, as part of the products of my pain, the Feet of Grace Foundation is an organization providing prosthetic limbs, scholarships, and seed funds for small-scale businesses for women and children amputee in Nigeria. I birthed the business out of my pain. It is called the Hands of Grace Creations. There is so much we can bring out of our painful experiences if we sit with it, if we process it, and if we are able to reframe it and repurpose it. We will learn to rise from falls and losses that causes pain and how to make the best of these situations. Our worst mistakes can become our best teachers and guides if we take time to process our pain. When we decide to endure pain of the moment and keep moving forward, we become overcomers and survivors. Believe me, we can grow through the pain. that thing that happened to you that has made your chin to be stuck in your chest for so many years is an opportunity for growth that we must not miss. Don't waste your pain, friends. Your pain will be in vain if it does not become a gain for others. Your pain will be wasted if it does not serve to benefit others. If you don't transform your pain, it will remain in its raw form. And in its raw form, it does not benefit anyone. Painful experiences are never purposeless, but we must go beyond that thing that happened to you and find purpose in it. So here we are. We talked about your pain. How can you express it? How can you acknowledge it? What are the steps for us to go through as we desire to heal from our pain? My earnest desire is that every single one of us who is in this room tonight will be able to look at whatever painful experience that you have gone through, or encourage others around you in your sphere of influence who may have gone through one painful experience or the other, and say that, and help them to overcome, and bring them to that place where they recognize that their pain is not purposeless. There is something that they can transform it into. There's always a purpose behind it, even when it is very, very painful. Even when it seems no one else understands what we have gone through, even when we cannot make sense of what we have gone through, there is something that we can transform that pain to. Thank you very much for your time. And now the floor is open for questions. I'm going to look and see what I can, if anybody can point my attention. Okay, I'm going to go up and try and see the questions. All right. So if you have questions or you want to ask it, you can unmute yourself and ask while I scroll through the comments and see what other questions are there. Okay, yeah, I can see better here. If you have questions, you want to unmute yourself. Okay, is there anybody who wants to ask while I'm scrolling through here to find? You can unmute yourself. Yes, please go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Sarah Tamila.
Yes, please.
Thank you. I just wanted you to reiterate the fact of what you were explaining on that pain is profit, it brings value. You were trying to explain what value is in relation to your pain. So please, if you could just go back, and I missed that a bit.
Okay, you were talking about when I said we can turn our pain to something that is valuable, right? Is that your question?
Yes, please.
Okay. For example, I went through 20 years of painful experiences in different spheres of my life. A hurt, e.g., I lost both legs. I could sit in my house and put my head in my chin and bury it there. That why on earth would I go to the hospital to get new lungs after living 20 years with this chronic respiratory disease, 7 years on oxygen, 3 years on ventilator, coma for 5 weeks. And then after all of that, I get new lungs and then I lose both legs. That is an emotional trauma. But what did I do by the grace of God? That my pain will not be wasted. 20 years of pain is not going to be wasted. 20 years of pain has to translate to something meaningful. All right? And I'm going to get something beneficial out of 20 years of pain. And so I set up a foundation that is now providing prosthetic limbs for amputees in Nigeria. Today, over 100 amputees have received limbs. Children have gone to school. Amputee children are in school on scholarship. More than 20 women have received seed funds to set up new businesses after they lost their limbs. So the benefit from my pain, what I suffered is benefiting others. My pain has become a gain for others. And that's what I meant when I say there is a profit that can come out of pain. We can repurpose our pain into something that will benefit others and ultimately we benefit. Today, I couldn't be any happier or any more fulfilled to know that my pain has not been wasted, that women are working today, children are working again because I lost 2 legs. More people now have legs to work. So does that make sense for you?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. All right, other questions? Well, I'm looking for this comments box is so tiny. I'm just trying to scroll down and see your questions. Okay, can pain be from spiritual origin? Is it possible to process healing while you are still on the swing or when you come off the swing? Okay. Our healing journey can start at any point that we recognize that what has happened to me is not, it's traumatic, it's painful, it's not right. And this, and I face it, I acknowledge that this has happened to me. There comes the choice. How do I want to move forward from here? Or do I even want to move forward at all? Do I want to stay in this place of pain, in this place of despair, knowing that the pain that I do not process and heal from is going to continue to fester within me, and it's going to transform me negatively, because it is only when I process it that I can transform it, all right? So our healing can begin even while we're still going through. I began my healing journey while I was still in the midst of it. I recall the day when I said to myself, I was sitting by my window alone, and I have a spot that I sit there. I see the season changing. The trees in my garden, they become gray, they become green, they become red, and years seems to be going past. And I said to myself, how can one person just be sitting here all day long and all I was taking care of is myself, just coughing nonstop? This cannot be the totality of my life. And it was sitting in that place. Option 1, go throw a pity party and say, why did this have to happen to me? Why am I the one going through this? Option 2, how can I transform this thing to help others? What am I learning from this experience that will help others? And that was how my journey began. Emotionally, the physical issues were still there. I was still in the midst of the situation, but I began to write about my experiences. I began to share it with others because I believe that the comfort that I was receiving, even in that moment, can help others. And so as I began to do that, I realized that, Irene, each of the seasons that I go through, each of the deep valleys that I go through, what can I learn from that deep valley? What can I, by the grace of God, bring out of that deep valley that will ultimately benefit somebody else? So every time I had an episode, while I was in pain, I recall there was a particular night I was on the floor in my bedroom, rolling in agony. The pain was so severe that I was wailing. And then one thought was as if the Holy Spirit said to me, Irene, remember you're going to share a testimony about this at the end of it. What are you going to say? How are you going to process this in a way that will help you to be able to share a testimony at the end of it? And you know, it was like it was like a punch at the base of my tummy that, oh, I'm in pain, Holy Spirit. Why are we talking about, you know, what I'm going to share with others at this point in time? But you see, it came at the right time, because I knew I was on the brink of despair. The way I was willing in pain, I was on the brink of despair. But that night was a turning point for me, that even when these things happen to me, the pain comes, the bad news come, the doctor's reports keeps giving one bad news after the other. I mean, what I'm seeing happening to me is bad news. I can still find a way to take something out of that experience that will be useful to somebody ultimately. Yes, we can begin our healing journey even while we are still going through, and we find our way of escape. I said before, in every place of pain, there is an exit sign that we can take so that we can begin our healing journey. 2, can painful experiences have spiritual components? Absolutely. It's an absolute yes. It can have spiritual components. Okay, I hope that answers your question. Let me see, which other question have I missed? Okay, Folakemi is in the room. Very good, welcome. She was part of the first cohort of Prophets of Pain. How are you doing? I hope you're keeping well with your plan outside after the course.
Good evening, Ma.
Good evening. Okay, I'm trying to see. Okay, to register, I'm trying to register. Please, can you share the bank details if somebody wants to transfer in Naira? Yes, it is there. It's actually online. If you click into the link that I shared earlier, you will see where you can do both bank transfer and payments by credit card, if that's what you want to do. Okay, any other questions coming? I'm trying to see if there's any other one from here, from the comments. Okay, great, thank you. Okay, I can't see any other questions here. So any other questions or comments before we wrap this evening up? We wanted it to be 1 hour, 30 minutes. We're 7 minutes over. Anyone with something to say, or maybe share a bit about what you're taking away from tonight? What is one thing that you're taking away from tonight's class? You spent 1.5 hours or 1 hour here. What are you taking away that's going to be useful for you? Would you please share it in the comment box, or you just unmute yourself and share with us? What are you taking away? What has been most meaningful for you tonight? Hello? We're waiting. If you want to share, please unmute yourself, or you there is always an exit from the pain. Yes, absolutely. There's always an exit from the place of pain. Yes, please, you can share in the comments, or you can unmute yourself. So that yeah, it's not only my voice that you're hearing. We can hear other voices as well. Please share, or if you still have comments or questions, please do, so that we can call it an evening and let you go to bed. It's 10:30 on my side, and we have people from different parts of the world with us tonight.
I just want to say that it helps you to regain your personal power, because one of the things that it does, if you don't deal with it, you become a victim, and you know, life happens to you. So you become back, you get back in, you become more proactive and intentional, else you become like a victim, because the truth is that indeed in all these things we're more than conquerors. So it gives your personal, dealing with it properly, gives your personal power back.
Yeah, gives you, in fact, that is the power of pain. Power of pain, the power of pain is one of the courses in the Profit of Pain course. And actually, I've also done that as a master class. I think we're going to do that again. How we can harness the power of pain and how we can take our power back from what happens to us. I see here opening up is one of the key factors in healing up. Absolutely. Absolutely. That we need to find a safe place, a place that where we can trust, so that we can be willing to be vulnerable, to share, somebody trustworthy that we can share with. Yes, we must be willing to open up. We must be willing to open up for us to begin the healing process. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Yeah, I share my story a lot to encourage people so that you can also be comforted with the same comfort I have been comforted. I'm glad that you have gained inner strength and determination to use your pain to help others. Praise God for that. Great. For those of you who want to really work on transforming your pain to power, to purpose, and profit, I invite you to join us in the Profit of Pain course. It will be starting on the 15th of October. And there is a link here for registration, and do please share. It is a double tragedy to go through a painful experience and not transform it. It is really a tragedy. Believe me, if we have to go through this thing, then we need to mine it for lessons. We need to mine it for benefits. We need to mine it for value. We need to transform it to something that is meaningful, significant, and of eternal value. Something that will add up to the kingdom. The enemy comes against us, then we're going to take what has happened and let God get glory through it. So that is what the Profit of Pain course is all about, which we've shared with you earlier. If you want more information about it, please don't hesitate to get in touch. You can also respond to the email if you want to contact by email. And if you want to contact by telephone, you will also get it in the email, so that we will provide more information. I hope that your time with us this evening has been useful. My earnest prayer is that you will go beyond where life happened to you, that you will not be the victim, but you will be a victor, and you will be able to take what happened to you and turn it around with the help of God and the Holy Spirit into something that will be meaningful far beyond you and your lifetime here. I pray that what you have learned tonight will grow, will be a seed that will grow and bring forth harvest for you in every area of your life. Thank you very much for joining us. And if there are no further comments or questions, you will get an email from us to evaluate your learning tonight and to share the next steps. God bless you.